I fell in love with music and playing different instruments through watching great musicians, hearing great music, and really for me it's a passion of wanting to get involved. I've always wanted to play with. Not just I want to do that, but I want to play with that person or that group, and then to be able to enact that in my own life and with other musicians is a joy. To me, music is really important in a worship setting for a number of reasons. It would be hard to narrow it down, but it's beautiful. That's the first thing that comes to mind. It's something that's rare in our culture. We don't do this very often for people to sing together. In fact, it's a pretty weird thing for people to sing together. Singing together builds us up as a community. It's an act that draws the people together. It's a prayerful act that binds people in a way that other things can't. It's a vulnerable thing to do. It's a courageous thing to do. But for church people to gather and to sing together is extraordinary. And it's a powerful, motivating thing for a faith community. In the church, there's a tension about when you start singing Christmas songs in the midst of December. And I've seen some churches really erupt in tension out of that. And I think it's important to acknowledge that because we're not simply acting like we're waiting for Jesus to be born, that's not the meaning of Advent. Christ has already been born, so it's okay to sing Christmas hymns, but wait some. I think both with Advent and Christmas, to start backwards. So to begin by looking at Christmas and saying, all right, this year, what is it about this story that speaks into this world and into this congregation? So for instance, if the great news is light in the darkness, then to work backwards from there in Advent and to talk about our darkness, to confess our darkness and to look forward to light. There is a song that's in the hymnal that is my favorite Advent song to sing. It's People Look East. It's in the hymnal, number 202, I think. And I love that one. The text is by Eleanor Farjian, and the tune brings out just how excited of a season it is. It's excited about hospitality, about preparation, about the coming of the divine into this world, and that thrills me to no end. There's another song called Trim the Crucie's Failing Light. That is not in our hymnal, but a crucie is a lantern, and it comes from an ancient Scottish rune of hospitality, and it's a really wonderful text put to music by John Bell of the Iona community. So I love to bring that one out, and then people give me strange looks. To me, the most important thought about music when it comes to the congregation gathered for worship is that the congregation has to be enabled to sing. This is something that we have from way, way back in our tradition, that the Psalms tell us that the people gather and offer these songs together. So then the question becomes, how do we do that? How do we enable the congregation to sing a new thing or to sing an old thing? But one of the ways, and the Wesleys were brilliant at this, they had access to all of these familiar tunes, and then Charles Wesley would write tons of texts. He wrote over 9,000 hymn texts and poems in his life. But how do you make those things accessible? If you write a new tune every time, it's a disaster for the people you want to teach it to. So we have the gift of the metrical index and the hymnal. We just also have the gift of familiar songs and folk melodies that are accessible, they're singable. So that's the question that I take to that task is, if there's a text that we want to sing, if there's an opportunity to do something new, how can we possibly make that as accessible as we can? And we do it with familiar songs, or we do it with a familiar text but give it a different tune just to keep all of that movement fresh. People sometimes mistake beautiful singing as what an individual does, whereas it's the act of singing together that's so beautiful, and that's what we're committed to doing in the life of the church. There are people who say, oh, you wouldn't want to hear me sing. Yes, we would. Absolutely, we would want to hear you sing, and God wants to hear you sing, because it's beautiful when we do this thing together, and that's what church is all about.